Hello, imaginary friends, and welcome to the Imaginaries Literary Podcast. Today we are continuing our conversation with Cindy, where we just talk about query letters, what goes into them, and how to write them.
Word count. Not all publishers accept just any word count. You know, we accept 60,000 to 100,000 words. For small publishers, it's a financial decision. There's less likelihood of a return on anything much higher than 100,000 words or lower than that. You know, we get into higher costs for books that are bigger, more than 100,000 when it's obviously the print. It's not we're so mean we won't read a book that's more than 100,000 words. It's just about cost. And
yeah, of course.
Now, if you've got a fantasy or sci-fi and it goes to 102,000 words, you know, we'll look at it, and it's not going to be a rejection automatically. But we get a lot of submissions for 150,000 word books, and again, it didn't have to be an automatic no for that person. They could have looked at our submission guidelines and seen that it's not going to fly with us because that's too far above 50% more than our top acceptance level. It's just too many more. It's just too many more. It's an automatic rejection, and who needs that?
No thanks.
Oh, that's a stamp that you were doing.
Yeah,
it's a stamp. It did look like a hammer.
Yeah, a bit.
I thought, why are you hammering something? Yeah.
Or like a really old-fashioned toilet flush. I don't know.
No, thank you.
I don't think I said it before, but every publisher has guidelines. You know, but just check it, read it. It's not ours is just one short page where you find categories, genres, word guidlines, and word limits. You know, it's an easy way to not get automatically rejected just for that.
Yeah.
Now, most people, and at least in Query Manager, and I'm sure most other publishers are going to ask you about social media when you query. It's a hard sell these days. You know, a lot of people don't like social media as much as they did. You know, people are dropping social media pretty hard and fast these days. So even though the big five, I think, are still requiring a whole lot of followers on social media for contracts, we don't have a certain number that we require or anything like that. I do look for social media possibilities. Some people will say, I don't have social media right now, but I am planning to for the sake of selling my book, and that's okay. I think it would be better if you want to sell your book to go ahead and get at least one or two social media accounts in play somewhere that you find acceptable for you personally, if it's possible.
That's optimal, is acceptable. And then everything else is below that.
Whatever it works for you.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever works for you. You know, anymore you just can't say everybody has to be on the same social media platform. But if you find something that works for you, that will be good. I will say this is very important. Social media doesn't sell books, but what it does do is help authors make connections. We don't expect social media to sell a whole lot of books. There's book talk and Instagram books and all that kind of stuff. And some people, I think, who really, really spend a lot of time and money making those things, maybe they can. But for average authors, the best thing you can do is make connections.
Do you think that that's how all the publishers and agents think of it? Because I've talked to some agents where it's like, do you have social media? No? Okay, well then you won't get the sales. I've spoken to some people like that. I've watched videos where agents have said that, but and that was a while ago. And that wasn't like this week, you know, it was a while ago. So do you think that there's a shift in that? Do you think that the numbers have come in and social media does not work at selling books, or like, what do you think the mindset is on that? Do you think
I think that's my opinion. I don't think that it's necessarily a big shift yet. It may be in the future, but I wouldn't count on everybody agreeing with me on that.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't. But my experience is that it doesn't do a lot. But I think if you maximize your options there, you can use your social media to meet people and get people to sign up for a subscription email list. Those sell books.
Okay.
Subscription email lists and your websites and things like that, they sell books. Podcasts where people will sign up for your email lists.
Yeah.
I tell my authors, It is fine if your cousin and your mama are the first people and the only people who get your first email. It doesn't matter. You start out by saying, hey, I am writing this book and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
And I think it might be titled something like this. And this is what it's kind of going to be about. And I would love if you would talk to the people you know about it and help me spread the word, because I'm going to finish it in the next 6 months. And then I'm going to start trying to find a publisher who's interested. And I'd like for you to stick with me as I go through this process. And I'm going to build my email list. And then by the time you get a publisher, then maybe you'll have 50 people on your email list. And then by the time you get a cover for your book and a publication date, maybe you'll have 300 people on your email list. And
Okay, I had to have made some kind of a dent by now.
you'll be ready to present your cover, and you'll have people to invite to your first signing, and you can do it all through your email list. You do want a website. If you don't have a website and you want a book published, you do want a website.
Is that before you get an agent or a publisher, or is that after?
Good question.
I would start it while you're writing your book if you can. That gives you longer if you don't have one. It's hard to get a website up and going. Yeah. So the longer you give yourself, the better.
Would Patreon count as your website?
I would make a personal website instead.
Okay.
In addition to if you've got Patreon too, so that it's just a bouncing off place for
people to go.
Yeah.
I asked because I know these guys have Patreons.
Okay.
And I know a bunch of people that have Patreons that are like, yeah, this is my website, and I'm like, I mean, is it? But I don't, I've never done it, so I don't really even know Patreon very well. But I just like, I don't know. That's great information, because I haven't heard that anywhere. Like, have a website that is just your specific website. I haven't heard that anywhere. I've seen a bunch of authors who have websites. But I'm like, well, I'm not an author yet. I haven't.
Yeah, because you're always looking at the websites of a published author. So
exactly.
If you don't have one, that's the first thing we'll ask you to do, and that's a lot of pressure right then and there. You probably have other things to do in your life also besides worry, because I'm also going to be sending half a dozen things for you to fill out, forms and
of course
questionnaires and all these things while I'm doing the first big edit, and then by the way, in the next 50 free hours you come up with, build a website, because I've done it and I wanted to pull out every single hair.
Oh, sure.
It is not my jam. I'm not that person, but I did it. And my husband probably wanted to throw me out of the house a few times because I just was so sweary and so upset all the time. But I got it done, Like, okay, it's done. It's good.
Honey, what are you doing back there? You're building a new wall? No, I'm doing a website.
Such a wonderful, horrible, terrible, exciting thing. So you just, the sooner you start, the longer you can spend doing it and not getting rushed. And no pressure. We don't need more pressure, do we? You can, if you're writing a book and you wanted to get published, go ahead and be thinking about libraries that will love to have you come and read when you're ready.
Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Please, children, scooch closer. Don't make me tell you again about the scooching. You and the red, chop chop.
I do that all the time.
Oh, good for you.
I daydream about it all the time.
That's great.
There's an amazing library down the street, and I'm like, man, if I could just publish a book and then I could just read here. I could just be like, hello, people, come listen to me read. Please rent this book or something. Like I daydream about it all the time.
When you said I do that all the time, I assumed you meant you go to the library and you just open your book and start reading.
Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well, you better let the poor guy out.
Who is this man? Oh, no, Caleb's back again. Get
Exactly.
him out. Oh, no, that would be hilarious, though.
That would be good. Film it if you do that.
I know, right? Put it on the podcast.
You wouldn't believe what this man is about to say.
We've talked about comp titles. That was on my list to talk about because I didn't want to. Don't skip it.
I have a question about comp titles. How successful or not successful of comp titles should you use? Because I kind of feel like if every fantasy writer compared their book to Harry Potter, that would kind of become meaningless.
Right.
Or if everyone compared it to Lord of the Rings. Is it that you're trying to get a feel for the type of story or the level of success that you think the book could achieve?
I'm looking for something that is similar in style or story. And I do look for and prefer contemporary, newer titles because that will be reflective of the market right now. And honestly, Harry Potter, as great as it was and as great a seller as it was, it's not contemporary anymore.
Right.
Isn't that painful? It feels painful that Harry Potter is not contemporary, but it's not. And
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Tolkien's not contemporary.
The world is changed.
And honestly, I would have torn his book up if I was editing it.
What?
If the man didn't have suddenly, I believe it was that word. I'd have to open it back up and see. But I remember thinking, oh,
You've been officially labeled a disturber of the peace.
I still love it. You can't make me not love Tolkien.
There is still hope.
We need to compare to things that will sell now in the marketplace because as much as I love a story, if it won't sell, I can't pitch it. Contemporary is different for every age, isn't it? That is the downside of being a publisher, and for an author who's querying publishers, we've got to be able to sell it to justify the cost of publication because it is a business. And there are authors out there who are writing stories that are just in their heart, and it's not that important to them to sell 10,000 or 5,000 or even 100 copies. They just want to publish their book, and in that case, and they don't think it's going to sell a lot, self-publishing can be done, and that might be the best way to go. It's not easy. I don't know all the ins and outs of self-publishing, but there's a lot to learn. But it's not a bad thing, and it's not a wrong thing to do, especially if you don't necessarily need or want to meet today's market for selling.
Well, one of the guys that we interviewed, Brandon, he's writing a book on writing. I was talking to him and saying, hey, what are you doing? Are you going to go traditional or are you going to self-publish? And he said, oh, I'm definitely going to self-publish because I'll just be able to put it out right away. And I have momentum right now. And so if I put it out, I think I'll make more sales. I think we'll be a lot more successful if I just go self-publishing. And Brandon, I'll put his book in the description as well. He's a good friend to the channel, but everyone should check out his channel. He has loads of amazing videos, and when his book comes out, you should totally check it out. Hi, if you want to watch something, watch this, or maybe it's over here. I don't know where it's going to be, but it's going to be somewhere.